Keisha. I'm here in my kitchen, and it's Taco Tuesday at my house. So I decided that I want to make fish tacos, but you know, not fish tacos because I eat plant-based. So I did a little bit of research online, and I went back to something that I have tried before in the past that's worked out really well for a fish substitute, a plant-based fish substitute, and it is hearts of palm. So I'm going to be using these hearts of palm to create a fish style taco. I'm going to call it fish style taco. So I've got my hearts of palm, and I'm looking for my stirring spoon. I've already got them kind of ground up a little bit. I just put them in the food processor and did like 2 or 3 quick pulses. And you can see they look like flaked fish. Really, I mean, they've got that look to them, these hearts of palm. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get these seasoned up. All right, so hearts of palm by themselves are kind of on the bland side of things. So I am going to make them taste a little bit more like a fish. So I've got a lime here, and I'm just going to juice my lime, and I'm rolling the lime on the board here to get the juices really flowing. And I'm not going to use all of the juice from this lime because I'm going to be making guacamole in a little bit, and so I need some lime for my guac. So I'm going to put that off to the side, and I'm just going to juice half of this lime to season up our hearts of palm, which we're going to be using as kind of a fish substitute. How cool is that? So, all right, here we go. I'm just really juicing this lime. I'm getting all the good juice out of it. I love citrus. Every time I juice it, I have to give it a sniff. It's so good. All right, so I got that, and I am going to pour my lime juice on top of my hearts of palm. And then I'm just going to use some of my go-to seasonings here. I've got some of my homemade chili powder, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that on there. And I've got a little bit of paprika, which is kind of a similar color to the chili powder, but made a little differently. I've got some cumin. This is going to be the star of my show. I'm going to make a kind of like a crema sauce. And it's going to be a cumin scented crema sauce. I got some garlic here, some garlic powder. So I'm going to just put a little bit of garlic powder on here. And then I am going to use something that is going to transform these hearts of palm into taste, like give you the taste of the ocean, a little bit of a briny taste. This is Kelp Granules, and you can get these online, of course, but you can also get them at like a Whole Foods or some other kind of a healthy store. But and if you can't find them, just buy those. Go to the Asian section of your grocery store, and you can get the sheets to make the nori sheets to make sushi with. They sell them at most grocery stores, big grocery stores, they have them. And you can just grind those up, and it's basically seaweed. That's what kelp is. So I've got it all here on my hearts of palm, and I'm just going to gently stir these because just like fish itself, these are very tender. They're moist, and they're delicate, so they'll break into little pieces very easily. So I don't want them broken into little pieces. I want to have something nice to bite into with my fish tacos. So, all right, these are seasoned up, and I have my oven set to 425. I've got my baking dish here. I'm just going to put them in the oven, my hearts of palm, just for about 10, 12 minutes or so. So they kind of get a little bit brown, a little bit warm, a little bit crispy on the edges, especially some of the smaller pieces. Get that out of the way. So, all right, here we go. And if I see any pieces that I think are a little bit too big, I'm just going to use my spoon and just kind of break them apart. So, all right, I am separating this. So you don't want a big giant pile, right, of hearts of palm in the middle of your baking dish. You want to spread it out so that it can kind of start to get warm, get a little brown and toasty around the edges. It's going to be very good. I don't have any oil in here. So far these are totally fat-free, and these hearts of palm for the entire can is 80 calories. I mean, if you're trying to lose some weight, come on. right? So yes, you too can have tacos and lose weight. I love it. Okay. All right, so I'm just spreading this out. Here we go. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about how this looks on here. It's pretty well spread out. I'm going to go pop this in my 425-degree oven. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in like 5 seconds or less. You count. Here we go. All right, was that 5 seconds? Maybe it was. All right, so I've got my hearts of palm, my fish item, in the oven. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a slaw to go on top of that. And so you can, if you want, you do not have to make your own. I'm going to make a crema and like a sour cream kind of a thing. And so I make my own sour cream out of tofu. This is a whole food plant-based thing. Now listen, at the grocery store today, I did see, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this sour cream, plant-based sour cream that you can buy just in the regular grocery stores. And my grocery store sells it right by the regular sour cream. So you can get plant-based sour cream. The thing is, there's kind of stuff in there that you can't really find in your kitchen. And to me, plant-based home cooking is about making stuff yourself. Do you know what I mean? So, all right, so this is silken tofu is what I have. There are 3 kind of levels of tofu. There's silken tofu, which is the silkiest, the smoothest. There's firm tofu and there's extra firm tofu. And there's reasons to use all 3. This is there's a lot of liquid content in this silken tofu, and I'm just kind of draining out any extra liquid because I don't want the extra liquid. And I'm just going to put this whole block of silken tofu right into my blender. See how easy it just pops right out of there. Okay, and put that bowl over out of the way. Dry off my board. Do you like my new board? My husband got me this for early Valentine's gift. Isn't he sweet? All right, so I've got my block of tofu in there. And now I'm going to use a lemon. I'm going to use about a tablespoon or so of lemon juice. So I already had cut this one earlier today. I made another recipe. My daughter and I had lunch today. So, all right, I got my lemon. He is juiced. I don't know. A lemon's he's or she's, whatever. Anyway, I told you, I always have to smell my citrus. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I'm going to use about a tablespoon. This is a half a tablespoon measure, so I'm going to dip it out twice. 1, 2. And then I am going to use an apple cider vinegar. You could use a red wine vinegar with this if you want. You can use a white wine vinegar if you want. I like the apple cider vinegar tang. 1, 2. All right, that's a full tablespoon right there. If you want to, you could add a little bit of salt to this. I'm not going to add salt to mine just because I want to taste it first. I want to see, like, is it good without salt? That's the thing. If you are, there's a protocol, we'll call it, of eating in the whole food plant-based world called whole food plant-based, no SOS, no salt, oil, or sugar. And I don't always land in the no salt, oil, or sugar land, but I try to cut back as much as possible. So some of the recipes I saw earlier were for these fish, not fish tacos, had oil or had butter, like plant-based butter, and plant-based oils and things like that. But with the lime juice, the seasonings, the spices will stick just fine. And you don't need the oil. So if you don't need it, then why add the extra calories when you don't need it, right? So, and there's also some not great health things that go with eating lots of oils. But all right, so I'm not putting any oil in here. I'm not putting any salt. Why? Because I want to taste it first. If I like it without the salt, without the oil, then why bother, right? So, all right, I'm going to just turn this on. It may get loud, so I might mute myself for just a second. We'll see. Hang on. Yeah, I'm going to mute myself. All right, boom, that's it. So really quickly it comes together, and I'm just sniffing it. I want to see, like, does it really smell like sour cream? So I've got my spoon here, And I'm just going to take a little taste and see. Do I feel like I want to add some salt to this? I don't know. We're going to find out. I do. I want to add a little bit of salt to this. Not a lot. I'm just going to put it in the palm of my hand. I probably got about 1/4 teaspoon here that I'm just going to pop in here. Now listen, if you're doing that no salt, oil, or sugar thing, absolutely don't bother. You don't need it, all right? And this actually could use a little sweetness. All right, so I just put my sugar in, or my salt in, and I'm going to use the other side of the spoon. I'm not going to dip the part that I already had in my mouth because that would be bad. I don't want to put my germs in there. Ew, that's gross. So that little bit of salt, that gave it exactly the flavor that I wanted it to have. So this is my plant-based sour cream. We're going to use this as our basis for our for a crema, like a sour cream, okay? So next thing is we are going to make a slaw. Because, and I don't know about you, but to me, fish tacos means you got to have that crunchy, delicious slaw on top. So before I started here today, I just got a mixture of regular old, just a head of green cabbage. I got a half a head of green cabbage in here. I've got about, I don't know, about 1/4 to a half a head of like a purple cabbage. Sometimes they call it red cabbage, but it's purple. And then I added a carrot. I had a nice big carrot and I shredded that up in here. So I've got my slaw here, and I'm going to add just a couple things to it before then I add my sauce. And here's my knife. I am going to add probably 3 of these green onions, otherwise known as scallions. Some people call them that. I just always call them green onions. So I'm just going to chop off the furry end, and that goes into my veggie broth bag for later. So I always keep a bag with my odds and ends. You can see the peels from the carrot and the bigger pieces of the cabbage that came off. I put that in my bag, and I just throw that in the freezer when I'm done. And then when I'm ready to make broth, a veggie broth, like when I've got enough of those bags and my freezer's starting to fill up and I'm starting to run out of and I'm starting to run low on broth, they usually equal out about around the same time. I just throw all these bags of odds and ends in a big giant stock pot, fill it with water, boil it for an hour or 2, and boom, I got free veggie broth forever. Because these scraps, where are they going? They're going in the garbage, they're going in the compost bin, they're going down the garbage disposal. Well, why not give them an intermittent step? Put them to work for you, right? You paid for them, you might as well use them. All right, so I'm just chopping up these green onions, and I use both the white part and the green part almost in every recipe. Some recipes I split them apart, but I don't ever just use only the whites or only the greens because, I mean, it's delicious. The green part gives a really nice vegetal flavor. The white parts give more of that oniony flavor, and together, I mean, look how pretty that looks in there. All right, so I got my green onions in there. All right, so what's in here? Again, green cabbage, purple cabbage, carrot, it was a big carrot, so if you were using normal size carrots, you would probably use 2, shredded, and then I had 3 green onions or scallions. All right, so that's what's in here, and I am now going to take my crema that I made, and I'm going to grab my my spatula here, and I'm just going to put on, I don't know, we're going to use maybe 2 or 3 spoonfuls. This is something I just do by eye. All right, why? Because, I mean, you don't need to just look at it and figure it out. So, all right, so this is the rest of my lemon juice. I'm going to put that in here and put my lemon juice in there. I'm also going to take the zest from my lime. I used my zester earlier. It's over here in my sink. Let me grab it. I'm going to zest this lime because when you use the zest, that brings out such delicious flavor. And yes, it looks pretty, but it also tastes really good. That's where the essential oils live, is in the zest. And so if you ever want to get the essence of anything citrus, use a zester and just go ahead and zest that up. So, all right, there's the zest from that lime. I'm saving the rest for my guac. All right, So I'm going to add some flavors to this. So I'm going to use a little bit of garlic powder. And I want to say that's probably about, I don't know, 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'm not using a lot of that. I'm going to put in some cumin here. And I'm going to use probably about 1/2 teaspoon or so of cumin. I'm going to use just a tiny hit of my chili powder. Just a tiny hit. Like a pinch, we're going to call that. A big pinch. And then a little bit of pepper. Probably 5, 6, 7 grinds of pepper. Okay. And again, I'm going to hold off on the salt until I taste it and see, how is this? Do I like it as it is? Does it need a little more salt? Does it not? All right. So right now we don't have any salt in here. And I'm just going to stir this together. And I'm going to, again, I'm just eyeballing this. I don't like my my slaws to be super duper creamy, like when there's so much, you know, mayo or sour cream or whatever in them that you can't taste the veggies. I really like to be able to taste the veggies. So I think of it really as like a nice dressing. So if you want to think of it like that, that's about how much. And this is looking pretty good to me. I want to say I probably used about, I don't know, maybe 1/3 of a cup. I used 2 big spoonfuls of my tofu crema, tofu sour cream. All right, so let's see. I've got a clean fork here. Let's see how this slaw tastes. It looks beautiful. I know that. All right, let's see. I just blew on it like it's hot. All right, it's good. It needs a little salt, so I'm going to put a little bit of salt. It's crunchy. So good. All right. And I think I'm going to put just a tiny bit more. Like I said, when you taste it, you kind of know. You get a good like feel for, oh yeah, that's how it is. I want a little bit creamier. I'm going to stir it in. And I kind of feel like maybe I'm going to add a little more cumin. Okay. So just a little bit more. And for me, this is what home cooking's all about. Like, add a little bit of this, add a little bit of that. I don't remember my grandmother, especially not my Italian grandma. I don't think she ever used a recipe. I mean, I don't ever remember seeing her reading a recipe card. There was no handwritten family recipes that got passed down. Like, she just cooked. My grandfather, they just cooked. So, all right. That's my fish tacos. Let me get them out and see how they have come out. I'll bring them over. 1 second. Okay. They look good, y'all. All right. So just what I wanted to happen happened here. We've got a little bit of browning around the edges. They're nice and hot. They're actually super hot. And they're a little bit drier, which is great because hearts of palm are, when you buy them, they come in either a brine or just a water. So they're dried out a little bit more, but definitely still moist. All right, I'm going to put these behind me until I am ready to serve them. I'm getting really close. So my slaw is ready. The last thing I need to make is, and that'll stay hot for plenty of time. Last thing I'm going to make is some guacamole. And this is the last thing that we put on our fish tacos at my house is always guacamole. Now, you're going to laugh at me, but I call this green guacamole. And you're like, Felicia, all guacamole's green. Yes, I know. But I call it green guacamole because almost everything that I put in it is the color green. So that's just me having some fun. You gotta have fun in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? You do. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm just, I'm pulling the little nubby end off first because sometimes that little nubby end will find its way into my bowl if I don't pull it off first. So I pull that off and I'm just running my knife around the edge. Ooh, that one's perfect. I love it when they're perfect. You kind of feel like you never know with avocado. Do you ever feel like that? You know, the more, I buy a lot of avocados and you can tell when they're good, where they're black on the outside, and they just give just a little bit underneath your fingers. This one is probably going to be just a little bit beyond. Let's see where I would want it to be. Yep, see that one's got a little bit of brown. Now listen, that little bit of brown isn't going to hurt anybody. It's fine, but I'm just going to scoop out the more green parts and I might save that brown stuff for a different day. I make chocolate pudding with avocados, y'all. You would never know that there's an avocado in it. So good. All right. So here's my fourth one. I knew that one when I touched that one. I knew it was going to be a little bit past its prime. Ooh, here's it. Look at that. It's perfect. I love it. Love it when they're perfect. So when you buy avocados, if they're a little bit hard, just leave them out on your counter. Don't put them in the fridge. If you put them in the fridge, they are never going to get ripe. But leave them out on the counter for a few days. And every day, just touch them and squeeze them a little bit. And once they get to a point where you feel like, I think these are pretty good, throw them in the fridge. They'll last in there for a few days. All right, I'm grabbing another spoon because I used my spoons earlier. And I am just going to go ahead and scoop out my avocados. Now, I've already kind of made my life a little bit easier because I cut it into small pieces while it was still in its shell. And that's just a little shortcut. I'm tossing it in my garbage bowl over there. All right. That was my daughter leaving. She was told not to come in the shot. Did you see her? I don't know if you did, but maybe you heard the door close. That's what that was. All right, so there's my avocado. I've got 3 in a little bit because this other one was a little bit dicey, so I don't think I'm going to put that one in there. But these other ones are looking really good. And all right, so that's the first part of my green guacamole. Second part here is I'm going to use green onions. Here's my ratio. I use 1 green onion per avocado. So again, I'm going to cut off the hairy parts. So I use 3 and kind of a half avocados. So I am just going to give these a nice chop. And remember, I said I use both the whites and the greens. You got to use both. I mean, come on, it's there. And so just give these a nice chop. So this is the second green part of my green guacamole. The third green part is coming right up. Toss this in here. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so did you see on my feed yesterday, I found out that I am a contestant in Bon Appetit Magazine's favorite chef contest. What? That's crazy. So there's going to be online voting. I hope you'll vote for me, please. You'll see me talking about it on social media. And all right, so I'm just juicing my lime. And, you know, I'll use a half to a whole lime, depending on how juicy the lime is or how many limes I happen to have in my house that day. So I was at the grocery store today, and I thought, oh, I think I've got 2 or 3 limes. Turns out I had 1 good lime and 2 other not so good ones anymore, so I had to get rid of the other ones. And I'm getting more delivered tomorrow in my Misfits box. So, all right, there's my lime juice. That's my third green component in my green guacamole. And then the last thing is some cilantro. So this is the last green item. And then I'm just going to add some seasonings to my green guacamole. So that's the reason I call it green guacamole. Like, a traditional guacamole has tomato in it. And so sometimes I make guacamole with tomato, but sometimes I don't. And I'll tell you what, it's just a little less chopping so that when I'm ready to eat, it's, you know, it's a little, just one less thing to do. And tomatoes, I don't know, tomatoes are a little bit, they're not really a pain to chop, but they leave a little mess on the board, and I don't know. So I'm being silly, I know. But all right, so I am going to put the rest of this cilantro, because that's a lot for there. I'm just going to dump it back there in my slaw bowl. Why? Because I had extra, and I already chopped it, and I didn't want too much extra in here. All right, so next thing I'm going to add is I am going to just chop a clove of garlic, and I'm just going to use. This one's kind of tiny. I'm going to use 2 because they're small. I'm getting to the end of the head of garlic here. So I'm going to use 2 of these. I'm going to put them under my knife and just give them a good pound. And that gets the papery skin to a point where you can just yank it right off. So that's what I'm going to do there. And I know I'm not responding to anybody's comments, but I don't have my glasses on and you're all far away. So, all right, I will look at the end and do that. All right, so I've got my 2 cloves of garlic, and I'm just going to mince this up. I'm just using a rocking motion here on the board and kind of piling it up and moving it back and forth. Now, depending on the day and the recipe, sometimes I mince my garlic very, very finely like I am right now. Sometimes I just give it a nice smash. Sometimes I just slice it. It just depends. But for this, I like a nice fine mince because when you're having guacamole, you don't necessarily want a big giant piece of garlic. So that is my garlic going in. And I already know we use a little salt in our house on our guacamole. So again, if you're not doing the salt thing, don't add it. But I'm putting probably about, I don't know, a 1/4 teaspoon, not a lot. Okay. And then I like to use a little bit of cumin in mine. So I use a little tiny bit of cumin. I'm almost out of cumin. So, all right, let's see. And I got a fork, another clean fork. I'm just going to mash this all together, my green guacamole. And then you're going to see how these fish tacos come together. So how long have we been on? Not that long, maybe about 15, 20 minutes, something like that. All right, let's see how this comes out. And I didn't do that much before we got started. I did a couple of things because honestly I don't have enough space here to have everything out that I wanted to have out. So including the computer and the microphone, you know what I'm saying. So all right, let's see. So I am going to give this a taste. I'm just going to use the spoon that I used to scoop out the avocados. Let's see. How was that? Oh, it's so good. Love it. All right, this is ready to go. So I've got my guac is ready. All right, last thing I'm going to do, I got to give this a stir because I dumped that cilantro in here. Now listen, if you don't like cilantro or you have somebody in your life that doesn't like cilantro, they're not being picky. They actually, there's an enzyme that some people are born with. I think I read somewhere between 7 to 10% of the population are born with this enzyme that when they put cilantro in their mouth, it tastes like soap. And so like if they were, somebody were to take a bite of this and be like, this slaw tastes a little soapy. And those people are the ones that don't like cilantro. So you know what? They're not being picky. What I do when my mom comes over, because she's one of those people, I'm very happy that I did not get that gene, but she's one of those people. So I just leave the cilantro until the very, very end with everything. And then I scoop out in her own little portion bowls of whatever it is that we're having. And then I put the cilantro in the rest for everybody else. And it works out just fine. So you got to accommodate people in your life. You know what I mean? All right. So there's that. I got my slaw. I got that. Last thing is let's talk about tortillas. These tortillas, these are corn tortillas. To me, nothing says fish tacos like a little bit of slaw and a little bit of corn tortilla. And so I buy the brand that comes in the bag. I actually went specifically to the Mexican market today because my regular grocery store doesn't carry these. Sometimes there's like 2 or 3 different grocery stores I go to. One of them maybe sometimes carries them, but I know for sure always the Mexican one does. And the reason I do that is because these are super fresh. And here's what the ingredients are. Ready? Ingredients: stone ground corn, water, lime. I mean, really. So, and so there's no preservatives or anything like that. There's no funky oils or anything weird. So I'm just kind of pulling them apart and I'm going to warm them up little by little. And the way I do that, I'm going to clean my thing, is I have a gas stove here. I'm testing to make sure that my hand isn't going to get burned by moving this. And it is not. So I have a gas stove here and I'm just going to turn my burners on. And these are going to go just straight on top of the burner. Just like that. And I'm going to see if I can get my back burners to work. They're being finicky lately, so I'm going to have them looked at. Let's see if I can get the back ones to flip on. That guy doesn't want to go on. That guy want to go on? Nope. All right, so I'm going to do 2 at a time. I'm going to get a little plate. And I'm just going to flip these. As they're on the burner, they're going to get a little bit charred, which is very nice. A little char is always a good thing. And as they cook, that's not on. So as they get, they're not cooking, they're just getting warmed. I'm going to grab a clean towel or clean, I'm going to use a clean napkin here, a cloth napkin. And as they come off, and they are nice, and so I just got out a little nice char. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Love it. So I'm just going to put them on my plate, and I'm going to cover them as I go. And I'm going to make enough for my whole family and just warm them up. I won't make you wait that long. So I'm going to grab my tongs, take that guy off. So they get a little bit wrinkled, a little bit charred. They're really, really nice like that. All right, so we'll let those keep doing what they're going to do. I will make the rest of these when we're done here. The last thing, last is, I'm going to flip these really quick. I want to just add a little more crema, because you want to always put a little cream on top, a little sauce, you know what I mean? So I'm grabbing my bowl, and I'm going to just put these tortillas so they are waiting. There we go. 1, 2. Nicely warmed, nicely charred. Aren't they pretty? All right, I'm just going to cover them. And when you cover them, the nice thing about this is the steam keeps them really soft. Some people don't like corn tortillas because they're like, oh, they're a little, I don't know, they're a little hard or whatever. But if you warm them up and then you cover them with just a plain, clean, dry towel or cloth napkin, what happens is they will steam, so they get nice and soft in addition to that char. So good. All right, grabbing a spoon here. I'm going to take a little bit of my crema that I've got here that I made. And I've got some leftover, so I'll be able to use that for another purpose later. And I'm just going to use up the rest of my cumin, which is probably not enough. I've got cumin seeds, so when I'm done here, I'm probably going to use my mortar and pestle and just grind my cumin seeds. But I am going to stir this up. Well, actually, this might be pretty good as it is. This looks like it might be just enough. You don't need a lot. We're just giving it a little extra scent, a little extra flavor. You know what I mean? All right. So we got that. I'm going to grab my hot sauce. Cholula, my favorite. And I'm going to assemble one of these. Okay. So I've got my tortilla. It's warm. It feels really nice. I'm going to grab some of my fish, but not fish, right? This was my hearts of palm. And build out this tortilla here, this taco. And when I serve these, they're going to go in nice bowls. They're going to go in the center of the table, and everybody will be able to help themselves to whatever they like. All right, nice healthy serving of slaw. Give myself some of my guac. Look how pretty these are. Oh, I love it. I'm so excited to get this in my mouth and taste it. All right, and then I'm going to give myself just a little. I get my lid off. All right, just a little bit of hot sauce. Let's see how it is. Little hot sauce, a lot. All right, let's see. How do they come out? Oh, that's good. So, wow, that's really good. I'm adding this to the rotation of Taco Tuesday. So these. Look at how flaky. Can you see that? That looks like a piece of flaked fish. I'm telling you, if you have somebody in your life, maybe you, who's a meat eater, and you're like, I could never have life without fish, or I could never have life without meat, or whatever. I'm telling you, you wouldn't know the difference. This is every bit as flaky. And with this little secret, this little kelp granules, flavor from the sea, and all the other stuff on it, you don't even miss it. Oh my gosh, it's so good. All right, I would keep talking, but I want to eat. So it's dinner time at my house. I hope you had fun making Taco Tuesday night with me. Let's see, I've got some comments here. I'm going to say hi to a couple of folks. Carlin is here, very interesting. Love fish tacos. We'll give these a try. Shannon loves hearts of palm. They make great crabby cakes. Oh yeah, I'm going to try that another time. Jessie, hi. All right, Mindy is here, saying somebody will love a recipe. Oh, well, hi, Heather. Thank you. Rosie's here. Thanks, Rosie. I'm having a great time, too. All right, friends. Well, that's what I got for you. I hope that you will try these. I'm going to write down what I did, if I can remember. I'm going to write down what I did. I'm going to put it in my group. I'm going to link it here, but it's plantbasedhomecooking.com. That's my Facebook group. Also, it goes right to the Facebook group. And the Facebook group here is called Plant-Based Home Cooking. So find the Facebook group. Later on tonight, I'll put the recipe for everything that I made right in there so that you can try these on your next Taco Tuesday or Mexican Monday or Fish Friday or whatever day you want to do it. All right? Thanks. I'll see you next time. Bye.